Hello, everybody. They have no idea why I'm coming on and laughing, but that'll just be our secret. Okay, so one of the first things that we need to do today, because I do have a focus and a theme for today, but I am so willing to go where the conversation takes us. But I do recognize that one of the first things we need to do is we need to perform last rites for character TMR. May she rest in peace. She's out of here. Done. I tried my hardest to circle back to see where there were loose strings, and I may not have gotten to all of them. So, what I will do is I will do a final sweep no later than the start of the new business week, but not as character TMR, just as myself, just to see what I need to just wrap up and tie up. But beyond that, she's done. I can't do her anymore. Can't do her. She's just too heavy for me. So, is there anything that anybody here would like to say as a part of our last rites for character TMR?
I would like to say a huge thank you for her and just to may her spirit rest peacefully. And she did a yeoman's work with us.
Okay.
So very grateful for her.
All right. So Amy took it straight from me laughing about it to getting serious really quickly. It's like, wow. Even hearing that, that was
And
just like,
I
wow.
think your note taker is here.
Sorry, it auto joins. Let's kick her out.
Okay.
Hey, Kelly.
And I'm
Ange.
glad that's something that you can do rather than me trying to do it. So thank you for that. But yeah, let's kick her out.
She's out. She's gone.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Hey,
So for those of you that are just joining, we're just in the process of doing a very brief last rites for character TMR because she's
Okay.
that's it. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. All right. Anything anybody needs to say it now or forever hold your peace because when I do the circling back, it will be as Teresa.
No, I'm with
Okay.
Amy. It was heavy.
Yeah. And I think every time I hear the word heavy or think about it for myself, I realize to what extent that can be such an understatement just
Mm.
based on so many things. But I actually have to give kudos to all of you for hanging in there with it because, yeah, like I said before, I was without a clue as to what I was stepping into when I devised a 10-part series. So, yeah, but we made it. And it's now time to move on. So, the moving on today is going to consist of me just getting a little bit of information from all of you, and then also just pushing you all a little bit further around next steps, and also to do a little bit more work around what the new tool is. For those of you that are caught up on the post, you realize that I did like a soft intro of the anchor soft depending on how you look at it. Some of you may have said, well, that wasn't soft. That was pretty much to the point, Teresa. I didn't do a lot on that on purpose because I knew I wanted to cover much of it while we were in session together. So before we get there, I need to do a pulse check as it relates to confidence level. And so the confidence level that I'm seeking has to do with calling in Black or Brown folks. And I want you to use the chat for this. So I will divert my attention from the faces and I'll look over at the chat. So here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about what was your confidence level before this series started, and then what is your confidence level now for calling in Black or Brown folks. And I want you to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being that is the highest confidence level, 1 meaning I have I do not have any confidence level around that. And I want you to separate the two ratings by commas. So the first number that you'll put in the chat will be what my confidence level was then, comma, and then the rating for what your confidence level is now after having gone through at least some of the scenarios. So I'll give you a moment to do that. Yes, Amy.
Can we, so for me, there's a qualification, and maybe there shouldn't be, but
Mhm.
it's So I have a different confidence level both then and now as it relates to people that I have relationship with and people that I don't have relationship with. Can
Because
we
this
make
series,
that distinction or no?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm glad that you asked that question because it takes us back to what some of the criteria was for calling in Black or brown folks. And remember how we said relationship was really at the foundation of it. So I want you to go into this thinking about folks that you're in relationship with.
Okay, then
So
I'll
whether
just
that
use
be
that.
me or some other Black or brown
Okay.
folks. Okay. But thank
Okay.
you for that. Let
Uh-huh.
me go ahead and Jen is here. So she's joining us. So as you do that, join me in taking a look at what's there. Hey Jen, we're in the
Um,
process of doing some confidence ratings. We did last rites for character TMR, and so
Oh,
now I'm so now I'm having us think about what was our confidence level for calling in Black or brown folks that we're in relationship with before the series started, and then what is it like now calling in Black or brown folks who we're in relationship with now that the series is over. And I'm having folks to separate those two ratings by a comma. 10 highest confidence level, one being lowest confidence level. And I see my friend Liz has broken the scale and veered out. She was at 0 before the series started. And I see Kelly shaking her head to say, well, yeah, I can understand and agree with that. All right, I'm taking a look at them. So give me a second to take my eyes off of your faces and just look over at what we see here. And I may comment on some of them. Whoa, some of these gaps, I hope you all recognize some of these gaps are huge in the grand scheme of things. I mean, I'm looking at Evans, first one up, and he was like, before it was a 1, now it's a 6. It's, but do you also understand why I wanted you to do the before and after? Because if I just had you to do the now, people could look at 6 and go, oh, but when you look at the two together, you're like, wow, that's incredibly awesome. Oh, yeah, I'm totally holding on to this. And then Liz's 0 to 6. Wow, these are some big gaps. I'm looking at your gap, Joe, Kelly, Ange, Amy, Jen. Whoa, these are huge.
Mm.
Ooh, woo. All right. I didn't build in time for this, but because I see such big gaps, it's making me want to ask, and maybe a couple of you will want to share a bit. What do you think is the main thing that's now driving your greater confidence level? What happened? Especially because I know character TMR dragged a lot of you. What happened with these big gaps? How do you account for them? I see Liz and then I'm going to get to Amy.
um, I would say the belief in myself. Like, I don't think it had anything to do with, like, the 0 had nothing to do with the relationships. It was that readiness piece.
Okay.
So within myself, I think the gap is like just understanding that that readiness is never going to come until you start trying it.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
Amy.
for me, it was definitely the dragging. Anytime we are able to correct ourselves, to be able to, because in this work particularly, and living this way, oftentimes whiteness blinds us to what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know until it is put right in front of us. And then we have the opportunity to be better. And we have the opportunity to do better the next time. And that's what I appreciated so much about this. And that's what I know was so painful for you to have to
Mm,
go through this with us. And it really just because I want to show up in a way that is the least harmful that I am possible of as
mm,
a white woman.
wow.
And these things really help me continue to look at, okay, what kind of stupidity is about to fall out of my mouth before I can now think, okay, this is very similar to a scenario that we had. I mean, I have so many notes, so many, and
Wow.
and I have just I truly hope it comes through how much I appreciated this because there's no illusion on my part of how hard it was for you.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
The difference was you, Teresa. I mean, when you say what's the difference, it was you. I mean, for me, it was also realizing that I could get dragged, I'll still get dragged, and that's a learning opportunity, not a shame opportunity.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I'm gonna, even though I have the recording, I actually have to write that down. I like that. I like that. Thank you for that, Jen. And just so we're clear, even though we have put character TMR to rest, that doesn't mean that we still cannot talk about her. She just will not be showing up. So I have to jump in and say, especially because Amy said it, please know that there was a lot of stupidity coming out of character TMR's mouth as well. And some of you did call her on that. So kudos around that as well. All right. So here's what I want you to do. And I know you've got your journals, right? I just know you do. Okay. So I've got something here in my notes that I want to have you write down in your journal. And I've got my timer set for 3 minutes because it's going to take you 3 minutes to do it. For those of you that joined late, I do not have share screen today, so I apologize that if you're visual, you can't see it. You're just going to have to rely on me just saying it and saying it again if I need to, so you can write it down. But a little secret, and I'll come a little closer. I'm on my own. I don't have a husbander today, so I'm doing all of this.
We're very proud of you.
Very.
And I am very spoiled. I do not do any Zoom things on my own. I always have tech support. So whether it's a master trainer production or whether I'm working with a client and they give me a tech person, I never do this stuff by myself. So today I'm doing it by myself. So I say that to apologize because there's nothing for you to see. I only have my notes. So here's what I want you to do with the 3 minutes. So I'll give you the instructions first. And then I'll give you the opportunity to ask me questions before I set the timer. Okay, so I need for you to think about 3 gifts that you bring to the table when you are calling in Black or Brown folks. What are your 3 gifts? And I want you to write those 3 gifts down in your journal. But here's the catch. I don't want you to just stay surface or generic or general. So, for example, don't write down empathy is a gift that I have that I bring to the table. No, I need you to go deeper. And so here are the 3 things that will help you to go deeper. And I'm using empathy as that example. So, my question to make you go beyond surface would have been, so what kind of empathy? Um, when does it show up? And what does it actually do in the moment? That's what I'm looking for. So I'm not looking for you to just throw down 3 generic things on a sheet of paper. I'm really looking for you to examine your three gifts and how they operate within the context of calling in Black and Brown folks. And this goes beyond those calling in examples that we used as examples. I mean, we had great examples from everybody, but the ones that were showcased specifically in our last learning lab belonged to Joe, Kristen, and Jen. But all of you had gifts that you were using in your call-ins. So, what do you need me to repeat for you before I give you the 3 minutes to do this?
Can I recap? Was it what do you have? When does it show up? And what does it do in the moment?
Thank you, Joe. So,
Thank you.
what kind of get what if you write down, if you're thinking about something general, what flavor is it? What brand is it? What describe it? Um, how does it, when does it show up? And what does it actually do in the moment? What's that gift doing? Why is it a gift? What is it accomplishing? Okay. And you don't have to be word for word. And notice I wasn't even word for word giving it back to you. But basically, what I'm looking for is for you to go deeper and just not throw things out to me like, oh, I'm empathetic, I'm humorous, I'm patient. I need for you say more about that gift and what it's doing when you're calling in Black and brown folks. So you're going to have to think back to some of those scenarios that you were engaged in, the ones where you got dragged, and even the ones that you got like positive feedback on, because sometimes even the dragging helps you to know, I had this gift and I know exactly how and where it went off track. Okay. So
Mm.
thank you for that question, Joe. All right. Can we go to our 3 minutes?
Mhm.
Okay. So here's my timer, 3 minutes. Okay. Kelly, you didn't have enough time. I'm looking at your facial expression,
I'm not coming up with yet three.
and that's okay.
Mm.
Guess what? This is work to be
Yeah.
continued. I literally set only 3 minutes because I wanted to make sure that after coming out of a series that's so heavy, that you had time for a pause to actually look at something that should provide you with so much encouragement and also perhaps even boost up your confidence even more. So I didn't give that to you for you to even say it out loud to the group. That's for you to have. And I do hope that you will continue and flesh those out. Okay. All right. So here's what I need for you to write down on a separate page because I don't even want this one to quote unquote messy up the beautiful page you've got going with your 3 gifts. I need for you to actually write down this question. It is not something we're going to work on. It's going to be something for you to think about and ponder. And if somebody does have something pressing that they want to say in response to it, we're open to that. So here's the question. Where or how could each of those gifts become a liability? And I will repeat that. And some of you are nodding your head like, mm-hmm. Okay. Where or how could each of those gifts become a liability? I need for you to underline the word could. And I'll repeat the question one more time. Where or how could each of those gifts become a liability? This is not Teresa taking the sail out of your gifts. It is me giving you a reality check so that you know a gift can easily get flipped. Your gift does not stop being your gift. Okay. But as you all remember, that gift can be turned around just based on so many variables. So I need for you all just to be mindful of that. Okay. That gift can turn on you
Mhm.
in the hands of somebody like a character TMR. And I think there are at least half of you that experience that on at least one occasion.
Can I share what mine is, Teresa?
Yes,
Because I,
please. Yes.
okay, as soon as you said it, I was like, ooh. So the first gift I put was
Huh?
proximity because I have lengthy experience of being in authentic relationships with Black and brown people, like since I was a
Mhm.
little kid.
Mhm.
And that sometimes that makes me overly confident. Um, and for example, I code switch sometimes with people who code switch with me. And if
Mhm.
it's someone that I don't know very well, they'd be like, who are you calling sis? You know what I mean? Like things like
Mm.
that.
Yes.
Where my comfort. So I'll give you an example. I was recently at a meeting and a woman I know who's in the links said, I'd really like for you to come to this meeting. And she goes, you'll be fine because you're comfortable with our people. Like she said that to me. Right. And I
Right.
was like, but I said, are your people going to be comfortable with me being there though? Like that's more important. But sometimes I think, of course, because I'm down, and that can kick you right in the ass.
Yes, I am so glad you shared that, Jen. And that's kind of what we call not really understanding where the line can be crossed and really not understanding just the nuances of what that is. So I do appreciate you giving that particular example. But yes, please just be thinking about how those gifts can turn on you if you're not careful and not vigilant about them. Okay. Another sheet of paper, a new fresh sheet. Okay. Now, this one is explicitly about liability. Here's what I want you to do. And I may not even give you 1 minute to do it. I'll be taking my cue from the faces on the screen to let me know when you're done. What is your biggest liability? And I want you to just give me one. I mean, I know some of you will like, I want to, well, there's more than one. I want you to think about what is your biggest liability when it comes to calling in Black or brown folks that you're in relationship with. What do you perceive as your one biggest liability? Write that down. That one I may ask you to share just based on the timing. And I'm keeping my eye on the clock. We're already at half past the hour. But yeah, write that one down. Ooh, Jen, that was such a good one. That was a great example. That was really a great one. I'm glad you shared that one. Okay. All right, just based on faces looking down, it looks like I have maybe three of you still working, two of you still working. Okay. Ooh. Oh, I'm just now looking over at the chat. Thank you, Liz, for being my unofficial tech person to put my questions in the chat.
Well,
Yay! I love that. This is the first time. See, that should just let you know. This is the first time I've looked over at the chat in a very long time because my brain is not wired to do that and look at your faces. So thank you, Liz. Okay. All right. How many faces are looking up? You got that biggest liability? So what do you think? Do you think Teresa is going to ask you to be willing to say that one out loud?
Mhm.
Raise your hand if you are. I'm not going to say raise your hand to tell me, but raise your hand if you're willing to share that one out loud with all of us. I just want to see how many people. Oh, it looks like I got a full suite. Now, did some of you give in by, from peer pressure? Well, everybody else has raised their hand. So, shucks, I got to raise mine. Did anybody do that? Okay, so guess what? I want to hear them, but they need to be succinct as possible from a timing perspective, and we'll do popcorn style. Give me your biggest liability, and I am going to keep my mouth closed. I am not going to chime in with your biggest liability. I am going to hold all my comments until the very end. Let's do it.
Okay, I'll go. So my biggest liability comes my strength. The one that I could come up with has sort of little pieces to it, and that thing is authenticity. But the piece of it that is my biggest liability is my self-depreciating humor because it can be misread, completely misread, or it can come across as centering. And so it's a technique I use a lot. It's a way I disarm people. It's a way I build background of relatedness, and unfortunately, it does not land a lot of the time, especially in a calling in of someone I care about. I'll popcorn to Evan.
All right. Thank you, Ange, for going first.
Got it.
I think you guys all know mine. I need to be a people pleaser. I need everyone to love me. So that becomes a liability because it detracts from the point I'm trying to make, and I'll hesitate and pause and may tangent when it becomes challenging or controversial.
Thank you, Evan.
Evan, you got to popcorn and pick somebody.
Popcorn Amy.
Mine is definitely flow. I can stick my white foot in my mouth long before anything meaningful evolves out of what I'm trying to say. So I think that just really thinking about the order in which I want to share is important, and not losing sight of the fact that if I bring things out in the wrong way, in the wrong timing, it can completely backfire. Popcorn to Kelly.
My curious questions. They can be my strength, but they can also be my downfall. And so I ask too many questions, and then I lean in on asking too much work for the person I'm trying to call in. Oh, popcorn. Joe.
Mine's quite similar to Evan. Sometimes I'm just not wanting to take risks with relationships. I'm good at connecting and I don't like disconnecting. So sometimes I won't take the relationship risks that I need to take. Popcorn Liz.
When I feel the need to protect myself, I'm very good at doing so, like finding the right thing to say to do so. Which I think then Jen is the last, right?
Yes. Mine is how stuck I am in the perfectionism of white supremacy culture. And it is complicated by my training as a lawyer, because my training as a lawyer is win, 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 win,
Yeah.
and do what you have to do until you win. And that means being told you're right. And so sometimes I've had to work really hard to deprogram myself from both of those things.
Right. Everybody take a deep breath. I'm taking a deep breath because do you know how hard it was for me not to say something after each person spoke?
May I ask a
Like,
question?
yes, that's true.
Yeah. It was so hard. It was so hard. But probably the hardest moment was when I wanted to jump in when Evan finished to say, but I do love you, Evan. I do love you. So hard. That was so hard. Liz, you have a question?
I think like it's not necessarily a today kind of question, but like I have a hard time believing any of us were surprised by any of the things we said as liabilities. And I'm just wondering if anybody was for anybody else. So that might be a post like after we go through the debrief, but I definitely I'm curious about that, whether because that self-perception for me, how I perceive myself isn't always how other people perceive me. So I struggle with that. So
Well, in case anybody is curious about what I was thinking when I heard from each of you, nothing that you said surprised me. There was nothing that surprised me. It really wasn't. Okay, so here's the thing. When those liabilities show up, whether it's your biggest one or whether it's some other one that we're not naming here at this time, that's when you lose your footing. And when you lose your footing, what might be helpful?
The tool, the new tool.
anchor.
The anchor.
Anchor. See how cheesy I did that whole transition? When you lose your footing, you might just need an anchor. Okay, so listen, this is now setting up us going to the breakout room. You all know how much I love to play with language. I've always, use language as sort of like a playground. And so I wrote something on my paper that's like an acronym, but it's not the acronym that you need to remember, but it was just something that was a part of my notes. And I said, you know what? This is kind of corny, but I'm going to share it, especially because it came from the last post that I did in the main space. So when something hits you and throws you off guard and you lose your footing, you're going to want to rest. Rest is an acronym. It's something that you're going to want to do that I don't want you to do. So the rest stands for you're going to want to retreat. You're going to want to explain. You're going to want to soften. You're going to want to take it personally. It's going to be the anchor that stops you from doing that. So I'll put my corny self out there again and just say it. When something hits you that throws you off of your footing, you're going to want to rest. Don't do it, because rest means you're retreating from the moment. You're explaining your way through the moment. You're softening yourself through the moment, which means you're being over accommodating, or you're taking it personally. And some of you, I know, took a lot of what Character TMR said to you personally. Some of you were okay admitting it, but I also know that some of you didn't admit it out loud, but based on how you responded, it was evident that she touched a nerve and you took it personally. We're going to try not to do that. So that's where the anchor comes in. So let me look at the other notes that I wrote down, because now you're going to be going to the breakout room. So I got to make sure I get this right, because you're only going to be in there for about 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, so with the other tools, they almost came with almost like a self-explanatory quality to them, where I pretty much told you what they are and what they're for. The anchor is going to be different in the sense that this is going to be the first tool where the majority of the customizing comes from you. So the one thing that we will agree on is the anchor needs to be the fourth tool. So for some of us, the anchor may involve some type of grounding phrase or a grounding word. It might involve the posture that we're going to take. It might involve something related to your nervous system, whether it be breath work or something like that, or it may be something else. It may be something totally different. And that's not for me to know or to tell you. What I need to tell you, though, is an anchor is not to make you comfortable. It is to help you to stay present and to not run away, to not do any of those things that I just shared with you in that REST acronym. That's what the anchor is for. So when you think about a real life anchor that's literal, what do they typically do?
Keep you grounded.
Keep you grounded and anchored
hold
in
you
that
in place.
spot so that you don't drift. I remember when we went on a cruise, and I was always so fascinated to watch how the ships would actually lay down that anchor. It was a big process, and the cranking and all the ropes. That is such a serious part of helping that ship stay grounded where it is. It is not an afterthought. It is something that is very deliberate. It is very purposeful, because they know that as much as beautiful and as wonderful as that ship is and where it is, if there's no anchor, then that means trouble, right? That can mean trouble. So I need for you to be thinking of it the same way. So when you go to the breakout room, here are the things I'm going to be asking you to do. And this is going to be an organic conversation between you and your partner. There may be two of you, there may be three of you. All right, so let me look at my notes so I can make sure I'm getting this right. The idea is not for you to define your anchor right now with your person. It is for you to start talking through what you are going to need your anchor to do for you based on what you know about your own personality, your own style, your own gifts, your own liabilities. What are you needing that anchor to do for you? The anchor is not for the Black or the brown person that you are calling in. Just like the other tools, this tool is for you to help you avoid rest. Again, that acronym REST. So in the breakout room, I want you to just start talking through what you're going to need yours to do for you. And because you will have somebody in the breakout room that knows you, maybe that person can offer you some observations. You know what, Kelly, based on what I've noticed about you, you might want to think about X, Y, and Z. Or you know what, Joe, based on what I've seen, you might want to consider an anchor that allows you to ABC, whatever that might be. So I want you to also draw on your relationships with each other. So we're going to do 10 minutes. And again, I apologize that you have no written instructions. Let it be an organic conversation. What do you need the anchor to do for you? What should it be doing for you? Any questions before I create? Oh, I gotta create breakout rooms. Let me start doing that. So I'm gonna multitask and look at my breakout thing to see to make sure I can do it. And while I'm doing that, I will multitask and hear with my ear any questions that may come up for me. This recording is going to be so funny to watch because I am looking at my facial expressions and I can't help but have the goofy looks like, okay, am I doing this right? Okay. I am so tickled. Oh, I did it. Okay. So are we ready to go?
We're ready.
Okay. So we're going to let's do 8 to 10 minutes. Okay. All right. So I'm going to open up the rooms. Booyah. I did it. Yes. Okay.
Jen and Evan, I was just sharing with Teresa that I saw the little box come up, and in my mind, the blue box was like an acknowledgement of like, okay. And I hit it and I was gone.
Yeah, we were like, I went like this.
I was like, don't hit the blue.
Don't hit the blue button.
I was like, oh
Whatever you do, don't hit the blue button.
no. Right.
You know what? If you hit the blue button, then you are resting. You are not anchoring.
Oh, see.
Woo!
See?
Ouch.
Hmm.
I might need that.
My girl Jen, my
Mhm.
girl Jen. Look at Jen, she's in rare form today.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah. I'm
so
out.
listen. Okay, Liz, let me. I see Liz's hand up.
Can I petition for a different acronym though? Because like if we mentally associate rest with a bad thing, I don't want that mental shortcut in my brain that rest is.
Okay, you can request it, but you're probably not going to get it.
I'll create my
So let me
own
just
deck.
tell you why. Because the way my brain works, the way I needed to deliver it to you to tell you to not go there is what I needed from me. So I gave it to you the way I needed for you to write it down in your notes, but you can absolutely scrap
Will
it
do.
because I probably won't use it again anyway, but I needed it for
Okay.
today. So it was
Ah,
one
okay.
of those one-off kinds of things.
Oh, okay. That's
does
good to
that
know.
help?
Yeah, that helps a lot actually. So it won't live
Yes.
in our lexicon. Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and it's because language for me is just a playground. And as I was preparing and thinking about what I wanted to do, I was like, oh, this will help me to remember what I need to say to tell them not to do. So one off. You're probably not going to see me use it. Plus, I don't want that so associated with my retreats or the work that I do. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that was just for us for this session. But I do need to share a very quick story with you all related to what you all just did and this whole excuse me, this whole anchor tool as our fourth one. After 2020, I lost a lot of relationships with white people, both male, female, and non-gender specific people. And I say that because it's related to this work around being in relationship with Black and Brown folks and calling them in, but it also has to do with what happens when we call you in or out. Those relationships had been in place, and when I say relationships, I'll loosely say relationships because they weren't real or else they would still be in place, but they had been a part of my work life for years and years. I mean, people that I had traveled with, people that I had facilitated with in teams, those kinds of relationships, right? But after 2020, people just started to change. We started to have conversations that we should have been having the whole time. But when we started having those conversations, they did not pass the pressure test
Mm.
because I was finding myself with a lot more courage to say things a little bit more directly. And I was calling in and calling out a lot of those folks, but was doing it in a way that was respectful of the relationship that we had built over the years. Well, let me just tell you, white folks got mad. They stormed out of my work life. They stormed out of my professional life. I got blocked by so many people. And this was after like a single call in that just rubbed them the wrong way. So in my head, I was like, we were never in relationship, were we? We couldn't even have a real conversation. So for me, the way they had defined their relationship with me was, as long as you stay in your place, as long as whiteness stays centered, as long as I'm comfortable, we're cool. The minute you veer from that, it's over. And I am still separated from those people 6 years later. Not any of them have made an attempt to reach out to me. And one of them I'm particularly disappointed in is because we actually were in business together. We had actually created a well being course together for clients. She was the nutritionist part. She was going to deal with the physical aspect. I was going to deal with the emotional, mental, and the spiritual aspects. We put it down. We had clients who were waiting to sign up, but all of that exploded the minute she got offended by something that I needed to say to her. That was very hurtful for me. So I say all that to say the anchoring piece is going to be so important. And it's going to be important because I need for each and every one of you to realize that this is not about you getting it right. This is not about the black or brown person always getting it right. It is about staying.
Mm.
It is about, can you stay? Can you stay without running off and scurrying off? Can you stay? And staying doesn't mean that we don't, ignore harm or we don't ignore the fact that somebody's hurting, but can you stay? As simple as that. That's huge for me. So, my call to action as we start the wrap up process, because we're now at the top of the hour, my call to action for you is I need for each and every one of you to prioritize architecturing an anchor tool that will not center yourself, but will keep you from moving out of the moment. You moving out of the moment tells us a whole lot. And sometimes you can recover from that, but sometimes you will not be able to recover from that with black and brown folks. It's almost like that saying where it takes years to build trust, but it only takes one dumb fuckery moment to crumble it all up, just tear it all down. It only takes one moment, one thing. So,
Can I ask a question about that, Teresa?
yes,
And
Jen.
we may not, I mean, it may not be able to be covered here, but we could maybe talk about it in community, which is there were times I backed away from you, from character TMR, in
Mhm.
not because I was uncomfortable, but because I felt like right now in this moment is not the time for me to jump back in at you with anything, right? Like when you said we are not the same, for example, like to
Mhm.
me, that was a hard, like,
Gotta go.
I am.
you know, don't come at me. And so I didn't. So maybe that's something we could work on in community about discernment about when staying in the moment versus taking a step back to provide space is better.
Yes, and I do think that probably will involve a part two to this because I want all of you to also widen the lens of staying. So, yes, there is a staying in the moment, but there's also a staying in the relationship.
Mm.
You may run from the moment and you make that mistake, but did you also run from the relationship? Because if you're doing both, that's deal breaker.
Yep.
So you have to make that distinction. Okay, I may have messed up and I may have moved out of the moment, but did I also signal to this black or brown person that I'm also moving out of the relationship? How do I let someone know that I'm here for the long haul? I'm staying. And there's one person here, which I will only touch on because I think it's such a valuable, teachable moment. And I don't want this to turn into I'm singling somebody out. There was something so beautiful that happened around the Bahamas experience around me and Liz when it came to leaving a moment, but not leaving the relationship, which is such a beautiful example of what I'm saying.
Hmm.
So the moment was left, but the relationship was never left. It was never abandoned. And I can say more about that probably at another time. But I appreciate each and every one of you for every opportunity we have to have these moments where we're like, okay, let's unpack that a little bit further, or let's look at that again and see what that was about. I'm respectful of the time. We're 3 minutes after the hour, and I know you have other obligations. So I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. You know me, there'll be some type of debrief that'll show up in community. Let me go ahead and end the recording and thank you all so much for being here. I know this session was probably a lot heavier than maybe what you may have expected when we're introducing a new tool, but this one is kind of an interesting tool. I think you'll agree.
It
Agreed.
was just right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you, Teresa. Thanks, everybody.
Take care,
Bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And
Thank you. Bye.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, my dear.